Heyo! How's it going? It's my frosty baby right here. How's it going, everyone? I'm Jim.
I'm Jessica.
And together we are a married couple living completely off the grid here in southern Arizona. Now with this video, we wanted to talk about one of our recent builds. Well, a tear down and rebuild, and that is our solar rack. Now we don't have a lot of solar energy. We got about 15 panels out here, but that does everything we absolutely need it to. Now this rack hasn't always been like this. It used to be a much shabbier build. Now that's because a couple of things. One, it was a temporary build, so it was built to kind of a little bit more on the cheap. And our circumstances were different back then. I mean, we had more people out here, so we weren't sure exactly what houses were going to be built or when, or if this whole solar setup was going to move. So I didn't want to put too much money into it right away. Also, my building experience wasn't top-notch at the time. It was probably like my second, third build, something like that. So I was still learning quite a bit. But our circumstances changed. We have the house. We opted to put the house close by where our resources were, our water and our solar. So everything kind of worked out. But the rack did need to be tore down and rebuilt because it was built with just your regular lumber, not any kind, that wasn't specially treated. I did put some oil on it, but you know, it was going to come down eventually. Either I take it down or it fell down. So I chose to end it on my terms. And so that's what I did. I decided, get the materials I need, and then I was gonna tear our old rack down, take advantage of this, put it into one rack. Before it was 3 racks. I decided to meld that into one rack and then angle it just right to make the panels even more efficient. Have it face true south rather than magnetic south. That was a mistake I made at the beginning. I pointed it magnetic south, which probably made it just a slightly little bit more inefficient. But with this setup, I think it's been running on all cylinders. I chose a particular time of year to do it as well. I figure a time of year where it wasn't too hot, or this time of year like right now where it's a little too cold. And I figured that was just kind of the best time for like really low energy use.
Yeah, because in the summer we might be running the air conditioner and that takes up a lot of energy. In the winter, not as much energy, but you know, the heat is going and there's not as much daylight, so lights are on more.
So that was priority number 1. I disconnected everything, removed those panels, and then I tore everything down. That was probably the best part. Going through there, I got to see like all the stupid decisions I had made back then and how shabbily I put things together. I got to reminisce on how bad my construction was at the time. But I tore everything down and that went super quick. All right, so I got all the panels off and I'm bringing Jess out here because I want to see Jess's reaction to this. You ready?
Ready. Whoa. It's all naked. It's weird seeing it like that. It doesn't look like it's falling apart exactly, but I mean, you can see this wood is like really weathered in some areas where the panels like weren't sitting. It's like more weathered. I think that's something that we've been both kind of worried about. Like, how long is this thing gonna hold up? So it's kind of a relief getting them off of here and getting a new thing built.
So once I took those panels off, I decided to kind of lay them out on the ground and reconnect everything. I mean, I figure, why not, right? I figured we might not be pulling in like all the energy we would, but I figured we might be pulling in some. And I was actually kind of surprised at how much we did pull in. Like, it still met all of our energy needs at the time. Okay, so I got all the panels off. And we see we've lost a bit of energy since then, 47.6. I'm just gonna knock out some of that grass real quick, try and arrange the panels, and then see if I can't get them hooked up, see if I can start bringing a little bit of energy. If I can get the batteries a little bit more topped off before the morning, that would be fantastic. But now that I got everything sort of knocked down, I am going to lay out these panels as best I can and try and hook up as many as I can to try and get power back into the batteries. And it is just before noon, so I'll see if I can. I mean, we're not using that much energy, so maybe I could still top off the batteries. That would be really nice. I mean, it is going to take some time to sort of disassemble these racks and then reassemble a whole nother rack. So if I can get a little bit of power in between then, that would be very nice, because we probably only got the batteries right now would probably only last 3, maybe 4 days tops. So I think we can pull in some energy kind of while I'm working. So I think my first set of panels, I'm going to move them right here. So I'm going to get these wires back out of the way. That'll be kind of important how I lay these out. I got to make sure the wires are pointing toward the combiner box. And as soon as I lay these panels out, I'm going to hook them up and start getting power from them. All right, negative to positive, negative to positive. Now just hook up the negative here and the positive over there. All right, you ready? Now if I flip the number 1 switch, we should be getting power already. We should be getting some power to the batteries right now. Let's see how much we're pulling in. So obviously not a lot. Looks like we're pulling in about 150 watts. Right now, this will probably just keep us from draining too much. Like, we'll still be draining, but hopefully I'll hook up some more and then we'll be building up throughout the day. She's a little worried. You a little worried? All right, I got another set of panels hooked up. 2 sets. And already with just these 2 sets, we're pulling in enough power to start charging the batteries. We're pulling in almost 600 watts. Batteries are already charging. I think it was at 47.4, now we're at 47.6. So this is good, this is good. All right, I'm gonna get those all the panels I can attached, and we'll just start drawing in as much power as we can. Hopefully we'll get these batteries topped off before the sun sets. So I got all the panels hooked back up again. Pulling in over 2,000 watts now, and took maybe just a little under an hour to hook up all these panels, and the batteries are almost full again. I love solar power. It may look like a mess right now, but I mean, we're pulling in quite a bit of power and our batteries are almost charged again, and it's still just before noon. So I think that's pretty good. 48.9. I mean, we'll be at full charge within another hour, so we're good. It just shows you at this time of year how little power we use. The batteries are almost full again. Like, obviously these panels aren't pulling in at full capacity, and it's still more than enough for what we're using right now. Done with lunch. Now it's a little bit cloudy, but let's see if we got a full charge on them batteries. Oh, not quite, but almost there. 49.4. It's full at 49.6, but I'm going to take that as a win. But of course, I couldn't just leave them on the ground like that. And I mean, they were getting dirty. Uvia was walking all over them. Who knows what other animals could be walking on them. So like, I knew they'd get damaged leaving there too long. So I just disassembled the rack as quickly as possible. There she goes. Oh, don't step on the panels. Oh. See, got to get the panels off the ground for that specific reason. Now, I can start taking these apart and put up the new rack. Basically, all this will be coming down, but I'm going to leave this one post. This post will be the only memory of this whole rack. The combiner box is attached to it, so I'll just build the new rack, right in this space, and the new rack will actually be smaller than this rack, so there shouldn't be any problems with the wiring or anything like that, and should be ready to go. So I just start at the east end, work my way over to the west, and let's pull this apart. Now these corner posts, and I say corner posts lightly because it's just a couple of 2x4s stuck into the ground. I think there's just a little bit of gravel in there, so I'm wondering if I can just pull these out. Now what you want to see for a solar rack. Whoa. This wood was definitely rotting and probably being eaten out by termites. I think that's definitely some termite damage. Originally, I had the idea of making these adjustable. I ended up not liking that idea, so I just stuck some 2x4s in the corners to kind of support it. And it held up for a while, but you can see it definitely wouldn't have held up much longer. Now these center posts are cemented in, so there's not gonna be pulling that out, at least I hope not. One rack down, 2 more to go. All right, Jess is gonna see my handiwork, or my de-handiwork. Is that what you would say? I could tear things apart a lot easier than I can put things together.
Whoa! It's gone.
It's gone.
It's crazy.
What do you think?
Crazy. It's weird to see that all open there.
There's just one remnant of the rack's former glory, and that's gonna stay. Those racks have been up here for years. So like, man, to see this wide open space, does it make you feel empty inside?
No, not really. I'm imagining the new rack up there.
Oh, oh. What did you tell me when I connected the panels again and the batteries were filling up? You were like, why do we even need a rack? Remember that?
Yeah.
Why do we even need a rack? They're doing just fine lying on the ground. Easier to clean.
That's true. Which we should do.
That's your job. Your job is to
What?
clean the Duke.
Oh, no.
Your job is to clean the bird Duke. Now it's time to reassemble a whole nother rack. This one thing is going to be sturdy. This thing is going to be tough. We are never going to have to worry about this rack again. 100-mile-per-hour winds, I don't care. This rack ain't going nowhere. It's gonna be a permanent fixture on the homestead now, and I am excited. Oh, you get a rack, you get a rack, you get a rack. I'm just building one rack, I'm just kidding.
Oh.
That's it, one last look, y'all. Empty space. So the first thing I did after disassembling the rack was I started getting the post ready. And I ended up putting cement piers on the ends of the posts. I think it's probably like the last time I would ever do something like that. I don't know, it was like an idea we had early on with the builds and we decided to do it again. But I thought like, it couldn't hurt just to have them like physically attached to the cement piers, not just sunken into the cement, but also like attached with the metal bracket and then sunk into the ground. One thing I was really happy with about connecting the panels and getting that energy, it really allowed me the time to not rush through the rebuild of the rack. And I really took my time getting everything square, get everything just right. And it took time squaring up the new rack. And I really think taking that time paid dividends later on. Okay, so I decided to make things a little easier, and all those 2x4s that I had laying off to the side, I thought that would be a great way of kind of getting this laid out. And as you can see, it takes a slightly different trajectory than what I had before. Before I kind of had it facing magnetic south, but this should now be facing more of true south. So I think that'll make things a little bit more efficient. Now I just got to make sure these angles are square, and then I can get to work. She always wants to help. Now, of course, the thing I dread most about any of these projects that like, roofs or racks or anything like that, they all have to go into the ground. You got to bury them into the ground. So digging post holes, that's one of my banes out here. I'm always digging, doing something like that. Post holes aren't any fun. Digging in this ground is rough. Got to use a shovel, got to use my post hole digger, but eventually you get down there. Oh my goodness, someone's been busy. The post holes are supposed to go over there. And you're getting the panels all dirty. Oh my goodness. Oh, careful. Careful, don't step on. Oh my goodness. Oh, she got that thing pretty deep. She's a pretty good post hole digger. You're a pretty good digger. You're a pretty good digger. I think one of the nice things about the piers is that, it's not, the posts aren't sitting directly into the ground and stuff like that. I got a nice hard surface to rest on. And so, just dropping that whole thing into the ground, making sure everything's square. But once I had all the posts right where they need to be, I still added extra cement. I didn't just leave it up to the piers. I didn't just throw a bunch of dirt on there. I also wanted to get more cement into the ground just to add a little bit more weight, add a little bit more rigidity. That took a little time getting everything mixed. I just did everything by hand, dumped it all in. So really the trick was, keep getting everything squared right from the beginning, getting the holes in the right place, making sure once the post was in, everything stayed square. Now is the fun time. Now I got to do the framing. Attaching the boards. So that was done with 2x10 lumber going across the posts. All right, so we got a board up top, a board down below. They're all level, and I got the right angle going between the top board and the bottom board. I need a 30-degree angle going down from there, so we're set. Then I put 2x6s going from front to back, all the way across for each of the panels. Jess is just gonna make sure none of these boards fall off. I need you to hold all
the boards.
All 7 of these boards. Then on top of those came the super strut, which made it a lot easier attaching the panels this time around compared to how I did it the last time. That is a beautiful sight. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Wow. All right, y'all. So, every step of the way on this project, I have got to get signed off by the supervisor. Jess is coming to check out the work. She's going to let me know what she thinks and if I can proceed to the next step.
Oh, wow. It's looking good. Yeah, now that looks sturdy.
A lot sturdier than what was over there before, huh? Why don't you go test it out? So hang on there.
Hang on there?
I don't know, sure. Do a pull-up. Oh my God, look at that strength. Once those boards were up, the framing was done, and the super strut was on. It was beautiful, wasn't it? I loved seeing the new rack. Now, of course, all this is done with treated wood, so it should last a long time, and it just looked beautiful. The panels just got dirty, sitting on the ground for that long. So now it's time to get them all clean, wipe them down, get them in place. And that I did each set at a time by 3. And as I cleaned them, put them on the rack, hooked them up again, each to the power. But once we got all 5 sets of those panels in place, I mean, it was a really good feeling. Turning on the last circuit breaker, and then we were running at full power. I could see immediately just how much more efficient the panels were, just at a slightly different angle. That's it, y'all. We're running on full power. Very exciting, just in time as the sun goes down. And of course, full batteries. But we weren't quite done yet. I mean, most people might be done with it at this point, but we decided to take one extra step.
We decided to put gabion baskets around the posts.
You love the gabion work, don't you?
Yeah. I kind of put the baskets together, the wire, and just, you know, cut the pieces, tied them up, and then you filled it with racks.
And like, we probably didn't have to do this, but I thought, you know, one, it gives it a nice, really kind of southwestern look. I love the look of the gabions around the base of the rack.
And it adds more weight and stability to the base.
We use gabions for just about everything out here.
Yeah, I think so, pretty much.
We built a giant gabion around our cistern, and we also got gabions around our roof. You know, now it just fits sort of with the mold of what we're doing here. I figure, why not? A little extra protection, weigh it down even more, so it makes the rack sturdier, looks a lot nicer, and man, I have a solar rack that I can be proud of. I think this will last us quite a number of years. I'm real excited about it. Now, of course, longtime viewers of our channel probably know all this stuff already, but what nobody knows yet is the little addition I made to this rack. So one last thing I added to this was just little pieces of wood on the end of each of these rows of super strut. I figured it'll help keep the panels in place and just close off the ends of the super strut. And I think just those little extra braces gives me a little bit more peace of mind and just makes the rack that much sturdier. Now, something that a lot of people might be wondering, what was the cost of this whole rack? Let me break that down for you. All right, so how much did this new rack cost? That previous rack I probably spent like a few $100s on, but this I wanted to be a lot more stable, a lot more sturdy. I wanted it to last a lot longer. So I sunk some money into this. The most expensive part about this build was probably all the pressure treated lumber. I got the 4x4 posts, the 2x10s, the 2x6s. All that lumber together was about $467. So the wood is the largest part, also the most expensive. The next expensive thing is all the super strut. 10 pieces all together, that was $300. Not cheap, but I definitely wanted to make sure those panels were secure. That went a long way to make sure the panels are secure, and it was a lot easier to attach the panels to the super strut than the way I had attached it before. Of course, then there was all the cement, there was the pier blocks and the cement, all that together, about $130. Then the final cost, just those little odds and ends things. The timberlock screws, the screws, bolts, washers, and the cone nuts that attach to the panels. All that together was about $60. And of course, the last piece of the build, the gabions, completely free. We already had the wire cages, we already had the rocks, so that portion of the build, completely free. That's my favorite part. So altogether, this build cost $957. Not cheap, but not horribly expensive for a rack like this. I think some people can end up spending quite a bit of money, especially if they go with metal, but I feel like this should last us a long time. Very sturdy build. I'm loving it. Under $1,000. I don't think you can complain about that. That's the teardown and rebuild of our solar rack. A little bit of a cost breakdown in case you're looking to do something like that yourself. So thanks for coming along. We really appreciate you joining us. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and if you're new to the channel, stick around because we're building our own earth bag house. We got two amazing dogs. One of them's around here right now, looking for attention, and we'll catch you guys on the next video. Bye. Uh-oh. Someone's looking for attention from Mama. Say bye, Yuvi. Bye, Yuvi. That's an invitation. She wants you to pet her. Oh, she wants some pets. She wants some pets.